Kate Garraway and John Stapleton have a roundup of all the latest headlines now in GMTV.
Heavy snow is due to hit much of the north of the country, with blizzard conditions expected to cause chaos on the roads.
Good news for homeowners. The government throws a lifeline to those at risk of repossession, with interest rates also set to come down again.
And struggling to pay energy bills and cutting back on food. The desperate plight of many of Britain's carers.
That's what we're talking about on the News Hour today. It's Thursday, the 4th of December, 2008. Hello, good morning. You're watching the News Hour. It's 6 o'clock. Well, the snow is coming. Many parts of the north of Britain are expecting heavy showers this morning, and you can expect severe disruption to your morning routine in the worst affected areas.
And we want to know what it's like where you are. Do send us your pictures. It looks rather pretty there, doesn't it? But it's causing problems, of course, as well. We'd love pictures and videos from your mobile to 67890. Messages cost 50p, plus your standard network charge. Terms and conditions can be found at www.gm.tv/terms, and suitable pictures and videos may also appear on our website as well.
But first, Claire is in Bradford with all you need to know this morning. Well, it is just snowing. She's well wrapped up, as she ought to be. Morning, Claire. How's things?
Good morning, John and Kate. Well, it's actually quite pretty here in Bradford this morning, although that really disguises a lot of the problems on the roads and on the pavements. The City Council have been out gritting, but to be honest, we're expecting another 4 or 5 hours of snow here before it slowly clears. The Met Office has issued warnings for snow, for ice and slippery conditions, as well as blizzards, particularly over the higher routes, anywhere from the North Midlands northwards, including central parts of Wales through the next couple of hours. It is clearing from the west, but it is a slow process across places such as Yorkshire, down towards the North Midlands and up towards the border regions. So this is where the worst conditions are, particularly I'd say over the higher routes. To the west, across the Northern Ireland, you're seeing a clearance now, and in fact you'll see some sunshine this morning, but some blustery showers. Elsewhere, some rain across much of central and southern parts of England. The West Country is seeing the clearance slowly coming in, and I think it will dry up here as we head through the morning. But the wind will be of most concern today, so with the wind blowing the snow around, poor visibility, and also drifting over the higher routes. We'll give you more details about the weather in around 25 minutes. Now it's back to a warm and cosy studio.
She says bitterly. OK, so blizzards and sub-zero temperatures are making travel conditions hazardous this morning. Police are warning people to be extra vigilant and to avoid driving or stick to the main roads where possible. Let's go to Rachel Harrison, who's in Bradford, with news of several school closures. I guess the children won't be too sorry.
No, absolutely. And as the snow continues to fall, Kate, it's going to be quite a fun morning for them. I mean, it's been snowing now steadily from about 3 o'clock this morning. We're expecting 5 hours of snow, and as you can imagine, that's going to cause all sorts of problems going through this morning. Now, as you said, there are some school closures I can talk to you about this morning. Some of those are in Rochdale. The council there had advised all their schools in the Haywood, Middleton and Rochdale area to close this morning. There are 14 school closures in Lancashire, 2 in Manchester and 4 in Cumbria. Now, if you're not sure about the status of your school, the best thing to do is to go onto your local website, either the local authority website or your school website, and the information should be posted there. But of course the problem is this snow is coming down during the rush hour period, which means trouble on the roads, and I can tell you we've all got all sorts of problems already this morning. We've got disruption on the Bradford and Bingley area affected along the A65 and the A58 this morning. We've also got heavy snow on the A9 at Perth and Kinross. There are problems on the M62 between junction 21 and 23, that's because of the snow. And on the A34 in Cheshire, it's closed both ways because of a fallen tree. The M6 in Cumbria is also affected between junctions 37 and 40. And the A635 Holmfirth Road in Greater Manchester is closed both ways because of the weather. I've been informed it's going to get worse before it gets better, so expect a morning of chaos. Back to you, Kate.
Thanks very much indeed. Oh dear.
Bad morning.
Bad
For some people
morning.
anyway. Let's catch up on the rest of the news. Here's Priya.
Good morning. The Bank of England is expected to cut interest rates later to their lowest level for more than half a century. There are calls for a full percentage point reduction, but that may not be passed on to some homeowners. Here's Sarah Moore.
It should be good news for homeowners. Another expected cut in interest rates that could lower monthly mortgage repayments. But before the celebrations begin, a word of warning. Hundreds of thousands of borrowers may not benefit from the anticipated cut, as several lenders, including Nationwide and HBOS, impose collars on their tracker home loans. That means they no longer have to pass on interest rate reductions once the Bank of England base rate falls below a certain level. And it could if the bank drops its rate to 2%, a level not seen since 1951. It follows Gordon Brown's promise that those struggling will be able to defer part of their mortgage interest payments for up to 2 years, helping those on the verge of repossession. It'll cover mortgages worth up to £400,000 and up to 100% of the interest could be deferred. 8 mortgage lenders have signed up to the plan that will cost the government £1 billion. It comes as concern grows that the number of repossessions could rise by 75,000 next year.
And there's been a rise in the number of people made homeless in the wake of the credit crunch. The charity Shelter says in the last 6 months, nearly 500,000 people have turned to them for help, and they're expecting that to rise over the Christmas period. They're now launching a £1.3 million campaign, urging people to help those who face losing their homes. Over 2/3 of carers are struggling to pay their fuel bills, and more than half are in debt and cutting back on food to make ends meet. That's according to new figures from the charity Carers UK, which is campaigning for greater financial aid for struggling families. Here's Nick Dixon.
It's been 11 years since Sue Morris has had a break from full-time caring for her son Daryl, who has Down syndrome. The emotional and now increasing financial strain is taking its toll.
My actual fuel bills are like £300–400 a time. It's outrageous. They want £20 a week for gas and electricity each.
Sue's debts are up to £15,000 and she has little hope of paying them off. As living costs rise and the economic crisis affects more and more families, carers are under intense pressure. 9 out of 10 say their financial position is worse than 12 months ago. Half of all carers are cutting back on food just to make ends meet, and 3/4 are struggling badly to pay bills.
These are people whom we really rely on day in, day out to look after the people that we love and care about who are not very well or disabled, and they save the country £87 billion a year.
The charity is calling on the government to review carers' benefits and help lift them out of poverty.
New statistics have revealed a big increase in the number of teenagers falling pregnant between December and January. It's thought that the Christmas party season is to blame, with 68% of young people more likely to drink alcohol. A survey of teenagers has also showed 1/4 of them felt pressurised into having a relationship during the festive season. Golfer Seve Ballesteros has left intensive care after a 4th brain operation. The 51-year-old, who won 87 titles during his career, was diagnosed with a brain tumour in October. Doctors have warned he still has a long way to go in his recovery. Finally, Leona Lewis, Adele and Coldplay will all battle it out in next year's Grammy Awards for Record of the Year. With the Brits leading the way, soul singer Duffy has been nominated for Best New Artist, along with fellow Brit Adele. Coldplay picked up a further 6 nominations for the awards ceremony, which takes place in February. 8 minutes past 6, back to John and Kate.
Thanks very much indeed, Pippa. Let's take a look at the morning papers, all of them concentrating on the economy. The Financial Times telling us that markets are braced for big interest rate cuts down to 2%, as you've been hearing. Emergency rescue package for mortgage defaulters. Even Sir Alex Ferguson makes the front page on the economic front. Apparently a fund in which he invested has gone into administration. That's right, wrapped up in the warm, keep warm for the game against Blackburn Rovers last night. More of that in just a tick. Mortgage help for middle classes, headlined there in the Daily Telegraph. In The Guardian, Brown acts to stop a wave of repossessions. We've been telling you all about that and the action the government have taken. And The Independent, the only one with a different story, saying that personal information about details of people all over the country is going to be handed over to civil servants. And Mrs Brown there looking rather groovy, don't you think?
Looking very nice. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Vero's myself. She's got a purple on there. Apparently £7 from a high street store. So really? There you go, you see, she's saving pennies.
Not profligate.
Mortgage safety net for middle class. We're talking about that in detail. This is this sort of repossession rescue package, if you like, so giving a holiday from interest rates. Daily Express say safe as houses and claim that it's victory in their Personal Crusade as a newspaper there. This is the ongoing story of that rather sort of disappointing Santa's Grotto in Dorset, I think we'll call it that way. And they've now interviewed the elves.
Not funny that the elves were attacked, but you can't help smiling.
You can't help smiling. Well, the elves said that the parents were so disappointed they actually feared for their elf.
Yeah.
And the Daily Mirror very...
It's not possible some reporter made that one up, is it? No.
No.
Sure.
They thought of it all themselves.
Yeah, of course.
What are you talking about? And the Daily Mirror, a very tragic little picture here. This is Faith and Hope. Of course, we know that Hope died in the operation, which is hoped will save the life of Faith. She's now got a 50-50 chance of survival there, so fingers crossed for those two and their family as well.
Yes, indeed. Time now, 10 minutes past 6. Manchester United's Argentinian striker Carlos Tevez sent his team flying into the Carling Cup semi-finals last night with a hat-trick during an 8-goal thriller against Blackburn Rovers. Tottenham Hotspur also through to the semis after beating Watford. Former Spurs player Clive Allen joins me now. Well, let's start with all the goals and all the action, which was at Old Trafford, unfortunately, not at my club. But it was a bit of a thriller, wasn't it? 5-3. That's basically people getting their money's worth, isn't it?
Absolutely, I think probably a competition that's...
I'm sad to say. More action tonight, of course. Let's have a look at some of the games. We've got Portsmouth in action, haven't we? I remember that. And we've got Villa playing this team I've never heard of, I must confess. Portsmouth have to win, don't they?
They have to win, and Wolfsburg, a German side who are very, very strong at home. So a difficult game for them after a thriller against Milan in the last game. But I think I expect Villa to progress.
OK. Good to see you, Clive. Thanks very much, Dee, for being with us.
Well, the Bank of England is expected to cut interest rates today to the lowest level in more than 50 years. It's thought the bank will slash the rate from 3% to 2%, but there is concern that many banks won't pass on the cut to borrowers. It comes after Gordon Brown promised families facing a repossession a 2-year interest payment holiday on their mortgages. 8 major lenders have signed up to the plans, which would cover borrowers with loans of up to £400,000 if they suffer a sudden loss of income. Well, we're joined now by property expert Louisa Fletcher. This sounds like good news.
Moderately. Let's hold our breath.
Restrained joy.
Restrained joy. The reason for that is Gordon, sweeping statement in the Queen's speech yesterday, all very good, forgot to sign it off with the lenders. So the lenders were listening to the speech going, we didn't sign that. So it's not yet to be confirmed.
What does that mean? What do you mean? And why can't he, as a Prime Minister, just make them do it?
Well, basically, there's all sorts of interbank lending rules, all sorts of European legislation, would you believe, that they have to go through. So, yes, in theory, it will all happen, but they have to tick the boxes first. And also, the banks have to agree, because some of the banks aren't beholden to the government. They didn't take out any of the money from the £37 billion rescue package, so they can turn around and go, do you know what, great idea, but no.
Do you know what? It's quite a clever move on his part, though, because it puts a lot of pressure on the banks, because they do look like the devils, don't they, if they don't really follow through on this.
Yeah.
So.
But the bottom line is, if you have savings of less than 16,000, if your property is worth less than 400,000, then you may be able to defer some or all of your interest payments for up to 2 years. So there's quite a lot of qualifying criteria that you have to meet to get it.
So let's have a look at exactly what the deal is then, because there's going to be a lot of people watching that are thinking, oh, could this be my lifeline? So who does this include and what does it involve?
Basically, yet to be confirmed. We should find out within the next couple of days. That the theory is the banks will allow you, if you can prove that you meet the criteria, which hasn't yet been finalised. If that's the case, then you will still have to make your capital payments. So you've still got to chip off what you owe in terms of the big lump sum, but the interest, which is normally the big bit of your payment each month, that's the bit that can be deferred. Now, the question yesterday was, will you have to pay interest on your interest if it's deferred? And we don't yet know. So we're hoping that there will be some more details that will be coming out. There's a big meeting this morning with the lenders, and we're hoping at that point we will know a bit more. So.
What impact is this going to have on the banks? Not that I suppose many people have sympathy with them, but we don't want the whole banking industry to go under, do we?
Of course not.
You know, what impact is going to have on them?
Well, I think we need to get all of this into perspective. There are 11.7 million mortgages in the UK. This year, the Council of Mortgage Lenders forecasted 45,000 repossessions, and that's there or thereabouts what's happened.
Agreed. And that's very high.
So, well, if you get it into...
recent times?
For recent times, yes, because it's 27,000 repossessions last year. So, whilst it's awful that 45,000 people have lost their homes, when you get it into perspective of the amount of mortgages in the country, it's actually quite a small percentage that's been affected. Now, there are about 100,000 people at any time that are in arrears on their mortgage. So again, we're talking about quite small numbers.
I suppose, though, that it's most people's biggest payment, isn't it? And when times are hard, it probably means if people are managing to pay, they're cutting back on everything food, clothing, you know, everything else.
Yeah.
So I guess the impact of this could be greater than those figures show.
I think, yeah. I mean, it's going to be, you know, are you in arrears for a month? Do you want a payment holiday for 3 months? You know, it's going to affect different people different ways.
Yeah.
And until we really get spelt out from the lenders, you know, what they're prepared to do and what you have to do to get the help, it's kind of difficult to know. But, you know,
people were calling for bold, though, so I guess at least this is bold.
Hey, isn't that gutsy? So fingers crossed it's all going to be, it's what we need. We need to offer help.
OK, very good to speak to you. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
17 minutes past 6, you're watching the News Hour on GMTV. These are this morning's headlines. Parts of the country are waking up to heavy snow and sub-zero temperatures this morning, which are making travel conditions hazardous. Dozens of schools have been closed.
The Bank of England, we've been hearing, is expected to cut interest rates to their lowest level for more than half a century, but it won't necessarily be passed on to many homeowners.
And more than two-thirds of carers are struggling to pay their fuel bills and having to cut back on food to make ends meet, according to charity Carers UK. Well, as teenagers start the countdown to their Christmas holidays and the party season gets into full swing, new research has revealed that young people are much more likely to get pregnant at this time of year. More than two-thirds of teenagers surveyed also said they were more likely to drink alcohol over that festive period. A group that advises the government on teenage pregnancy is now urging parents to take the time to talk to their children about relationships. Well, we asked some teenage girls about the pressures they face at this time of year.
I think it's because they're relaxed, because it's Christmas and it's all about happiness and giving, and also because drinks as well. I think that drinking can come down to it more.
If you have good friends, then they'll support you in whatever your choice is, and if anyone is pressuring you, they'll stick up for you, kind of thing. But I think there is a lot of pressure.
Most of my friends are smart, but I mean, I suppose there's loads of girls out there who do give in to peer pressure.
Well, joining me now is psychologist Emma Kenny. Are you surprised by these phones? I doubt that you are you? I'm not.
Not at all surprised, no. The thing about Christmas is, as it very much said there, people expect to be happy and cheery, but also we're expected to push a few boundaries. The reality is we say, you know, give people Christmas kisses, New Year kisses, everything's about new beginnings, and it kind of breaches a few of our social boundaries, and then that can obviously have knock-on effects. If you do end up giving somebody a Christmas kiss, the logistics of that means that you can end up doing a lot more.
Well, and also, as the survey revealed, alcohol plays a huge part.
Alcohol does play a huge part in most of our social problems, because if you drink, your inhibitions become lower and you're a lot more likely to engage in inappropriate behaviour because, you know, most of the time we're conditioned to behave in a certain way. Alcohol just breaches those boundaries again. It's also important to think about what was said about relationships. We do a great deal of sex education in this country. We talk about how to have sex safely. We don't do a lot about suggesting that having sex is a tiny part of a relationship. The peer pressure that a lot of young people feel is about becoming an adult. Having sex is about being an adult. Actually, having a sex is a tiny part. Relationships are about feeling close to someone, enjoying their company, looking after their needs. The sexual part of it is a tiny issue, and we need to be discussing with young people positive relationships.
But I guess that one of the things going through young people's heads is that until I've done it, I'm not one of the gang. I haven't been accepted by my peer group.
That is an absolute key statement that young people will talk about. We in education systems do not bring our children up to really be independent thinkers. We need young people to start being taught to think independently. When you think independently, you make independent choices and you free yourself from that peer pressure and that system that says you should uniformly act this way.
But who wants, Emma, who wants to be the one who says, no, I don't? You know, amongst a group of girls, or amongst a group of boys in a class, no, I don't do that because I don't think that's right and proper, because I haven't had the right relationship, or I'm not old enough, or whatever the reason they advance.
The child...
It's difficult, isn't it?
It is very difficult, but the child who's brought up with a parent or parents who actively discuss and promote positive relationships and act as a good role model, followed by an education system that states, this is how to think freely, creates a child that will be robust and resilient and able to say to their peers, it's not for me, and actually not just do that, free their peers from also having to uniform those decisions. The only way we will change young people's thinking is to promote independence. That will stop 99% of the things that we are seeing going wrong, that uniformity in peer-making decisions. It has to change.
A lot of work still to do for the time being. Emma, thanks very much indeed. Are you a teenager finding yourself under pressure, or are you a worried parent? Email us at gm.tv or text on 67890. Text costs 25p plus your standard network charge. Full terms can be found at gm.tv/terms.
Still to come on the News Hour, we're going to bring you the latest on the blizzard that's set to leave much of the north of Britain covered in snow. And we want to know what it's like where you are as well. Do send us your pictures or your video to 67890. Messages cost 50p, plus your standard network charge. Terms and conditions can be found at www.gm.tv/terms. And we will put all suitable pictures and videos as well, possibly on our website.
And more controversy at the BBC. Radio 1 DJ Chris Moyle sparked dozens of complaints for suggesting Poles make good prostitutes. We'll talk to the Sun showbiz editor in a couple of minutes.
Hi there. Well, the Radio 1 DJ, Chris Moores, has come under fire for apparently telling listeners to his breakfast show that Polish people make good prostitutes. The BBC has reportedly received 32 complaints so far, but defended the comments, saying they were not meant to cause offence. On his show 2 weeks ago, he said, let's have a look at his words, he said, "I've always found in my experience prostitutes make very good cleaners and that their ironing is brilliant. I just find if you're Polish, you're very good at ironing." So, was it just an innocent comment or a racist remark? Well, the Sun showbiz editor, Gordon Smart, is here. Where do you stand? What do you think?
It was a throwaway remark. It was a mistake. He shouldn't have done it.
A racist comment can be a throwaway remark.
It was. Yeah, it was. It was a mistake. He should have apologised straight away and it would have been forgotten about. This happened 2 weeks ago. You can't forget that, you know. And for this to happen now, it is sort of reminiscent of the Russell Brand situation, isn't it? He should have apologised. It would have been forgotten about.
I mean, we do have to, you know, understand and remember that Chris Moyles is known and loved because of his sort of shock value. That's what he likes to do, you know. And he says, you know, it was meant to be a joke, and I think he thought people would get that.
Yeah. This happens about once every 3 months to Chris Moyles. That's the other thing to remember here. He does live close to the edge. He's made a terrible mistake. He should have apologised. But, you know, this is what you expect from Chris Moyles in the morning. You know, it wasn't right. And what he has to remember as well is that kids listen to that. You know, a lot of people on the school run have that on. And he does have a responsibility to be a little bit more grown up than that. So that should be remembered.
Polish classmates.
Exactly, exactly.
Or be Polish.
Or be Polish themselves.
Yeah.
To be fair. There is a sort of, it feels like there's a sort of weird wave going on here, though, that we have broadcasters that are known for being shocking. You know, that's why they were sort of hired, let's be honest, in many ways. They're just doing their thing. And suddenly it must be very confusing to them because they're finding themselves getting into trouble for it.
Yeah, well, they're all walking on eggshells at the moment. It's the same for you guys, though. You know, if you put a foot out of line, you know, straight away, complaints, apologies. You know, there does seem to be a culture of that at the moment.
Though.
You're perfect. You never make these mistakes. Of course you don't. But it's something people are aware of at the moment. And it seems like there is a culture developing of waiting for a mistake so everyone can complain and then there can be an apology and a big inquest. But it doesn't reflect very well on the BBC, this one, does it? Because they haven't really said sorry.
Well, should we have a little look at their statement? This is what the BBC said. Chris was poking fun at ridiculous and unfair stereotypes. So he's that sort of argument they're taking the mickey out of the sort of people that would say this genuinely, and making a nonsense of generalisations based on nationality. At no point did he say that Polish people were involved in prostitution. These comments were made in a live broadcast and were definitely not meant to cause any offence.
Well, the fact of the matter is people have been upset. If people are upset, you have to apologise, and I think it's as simple as that.
It's a bit like Alf Garnett, isn't it? Sort of, you know, being racist, and he was a racist character to take the mickey out of people. Exactly. The difference is this guy isn't an actor. He's a broadcaster. That's the difficulty he's got.
I don't think it's as clever as that, is it? Yeah. I think it was a throwaway, flippant remark. He wasn't thinking about it being as intelligent as that. He was poking fun at Polish people, so he should apologise. I think that's a bit of a cop-out by the BBC, and they really should have taken it a bit more seriously than that.
OK, well, it'll be interesting to know what everyone's at home's views are on this one. Thanks very much for speaking to you this morning. Thank you.
Good to see you. OK, big weather day today. Let's get the details now with Claire.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestle Shredded Wheat. Shredded wheat and hot milk. They're a perfect winter warm-up.
Hello, good morning. I'm in Bradford this morning in West Yorkshire. It feels a little bit like Narnia this morning. The snow's been falling for the last few hours, and it really sets the scene across much of the country under a white blanket. Now, it's causing a lot of problems this morning, and the Met Office has issued warnings for heavy snow, for drifting, particularly over the higher routes, along with blizzards, because the winds from the southeast are very strong. So it's anywhere from the North Midlands for central and northern parts of Wales for the next few hours, up across the spine of the country, up to central and eastern areas of Scotland. Now to the west, we are expecting the clearance coming in the next hour or so. It's turned back to rain here, and certainly down towards the south, that's south of the Midlands, we're seeing rain this morning, but the rain will clear during the morning. So wherever you are, it's not particularly pleasant conditions. Some people seeing very nasty weather as you're heading out this morning. Now the council here in Bradford have been trying to grit the roads, but the snow is now turning heavy and it's settling on top, so please be careful if you are out and about. Let's have a look and see what's happening this morning across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Clearer skies coming in across Northern Ireland. That means some brighter skies, 1 or 2 showers, as well as for western Scotland. The western part of Wales also seeing a little bit of sunshine. Elsewhere, the snow will continue to fall during the morning period across northern counties of England, as well as central and eastern areas of Scotland. Heading further south, you can see the rain slowly moving away from the southwest, but to be honest, it's a bit of a wet start here and a chilly start with a strong wind. And through the afternoon, clearance comes in across much of England and Wales, so a better afternoon to come. Northern Ireland still seeing those showers, as well as western Scotland, but we do hang on to the snow across central and northeastern areas of Scotland, and northeastern Scotland could see the snow up to the next 36 hours. So temperature-wise today, well, it's freezing cold with the wind. Temperature struggling between around 3 and 5 degrees Celsius. Milder down towards the West Country, 10 Celsius. Tonight, then, it really is a case of those showers continuing in the west. Clear skies in the east, that leading to a frost, and the northeast continuing to see the wintry conditions. Leading us into tomorrow, where it really is a case of sunshine and some blustery showers. Here's your summary.
For your local weekend weather, visit our website, gm.tv.
Hello, good morning. 29 minutes past 6 is the time on Thursday, the 4th of December, 2008. You're watching the News Hour here on GMTV, where still to come, we'll bring you all the latest on the snowstorms hitting the country this morning.
Also, we're talking to the carer who's struggling to pay her fuel bills and find out why the credit crunch is hitting many other carers particularly hard.
And Christmas has well and truly begun in New York as star names turn out to switch on the lights at the famous Rockefeller Christmas tree, where they have an ice rink as well. A lovely, lovely sight if you're going that way this Christmas. But first, blizzard and sub-zero temperatures are making travel conditions hazardous in many parts of the country this morning. Police are warning people to be extra vigilant and to avoid driving or stick to the main road wherever possible. Dozens of schools in Scotland and Northern England have already been closed. Jonathan Swain is doing his best to battle up the M1. He's got as far as Derbyshire, where, as you can see, the snow's falling there. How is it, Jonathan?
Morning to you, John. Well, I was on the road for 150 or so miles coming from the south, and when we hit sort of Derbyshire, the snow, as you can see, just really came down, and we had problems just coming to this live position. The last half an hour or so, my car came off the road on a sort of a B road, slipped and slided, so it's now dumped about, what, a mile or so up the road. As you can tell, the driving conditions are pretty horrendous around the country at the moment, particularly on the off the main roads. We've got the M1, just pan the camera around. You can see that that's moving, not too bad at the moment, John, but as I say, it's pretty horrendous anyway, because I've just pulled off the M1 the last few moments or so. Elsewhere around the country, well, school children will be pleased because most schools are having the day off in parts of the country. In Rochdale Council have said that all schools there.
Let me tell you, there's a lot of schools in the northwest closed this morning, in Rochdale, also up in Cumbria and other parts of Lancashire. Jonathan, I think we've got you back.
Sorry, John, I think it's the wind here that's sort of blowing all our satellite communications around. Yeah, just saying a lot of schools are closed today in Rochdale, in Hayward and in Middleton as well. 14 schools, I think you said, are closed in Lancashire, 2 schools closed in Manchester and 4 in Cumbria. And perhaps, I suspect, as the morning progresses, the weather comes down, many more schools will be cancelled as well. On the roads, I was just chatting to you about that a bit earlier on, causing many problems in the north of England today. The A66 near Cumbria, that's closed in both directions. On the A9, there's heavy snow in Perth and Kinross. 62, the A34 in Cheshire is closed. The M6 in Cumbria between 37 and 40 has got heavy snow. And
Well, we'll just hold that map there. If you're going out to driving in that part of the country this morning, just have a look at that map, get a vague idea anyway of where the problems are. A9, M6, A34, A635, and at that section of the M62 that goes across the middle of the country there. So wherever you are, take care.
Yeah, take care, slow down and look after yourselves, for goodness sake. Let's get this morning's other top stories from Priya.
Good morning. The Bank of England is expected to cut interest rates later to their lowest levels for more than half a century. There are calls for a full percentage point reduction, but that may not be passed on to some homeowners. Here's Sarah Moore.
It should be good news for homeowners. Another expected cut in interest rates that could lower monthly mortgage repayments. But before the celebrations begin, a word of warning. Hundreds of thousands of borrowers may not benefit from the anticipated cut, as several lenders, including Nationwide and HBOS, impose collars on their tracker home loans. That means they no longer have to pass on interest rate reductions once the Bank of England base rate falls below a certain level. And it could if the bank drops its rate to 2%, a level not seen since 1951. It follows Gordon Brown's promise that those struggling will be able to defer part of their mortgage interest payments for up to 2 years, helping those on the verge of repossession. It'll cover mortgages worth up to £400,000 and up to 100% of the interest could be deferred. 8 mortgage lenders have signed up to the plan that will cost the government £1 billion. It comes as concern grows that the number of repossessions could rise by 75,000 next year.
And there's been a rise in the number of people made homeless in the wake of the credit crunch. The charity Shelter says in the last 6 months, nearly 500,000 people have turned to them for help. And they're expecting that figure will rise over the Christmas period. They're now launching a £1.3 million campaign, urging people to help those who face losing their homes. Over 2/3 of carers are struggling to pay their fuel bills, and more than half are in debt and cutting back on food to make ends meet. That's according to new figures from the charity Carers UK, which is campaigning for greater financial aid for struggling families. New statistics have revealed a big increase in the number of teenagers falling pregnant between December and January. It's thought that the Christmas party season is to blame, with 68% of young people more likely to drink alcohol. A survey of teenagers has also shown a quarter of them felt pressurised into having a relationship during the festive season. The film that knocked Bond off the top spot on its opening weekend in the US premiered in London last night. The teen vampire movie Twilight is already causing quite a stir over here, as Michelle Morrison reports.
Some fans had camped out for 17 hours, desperate for a glimpse of Robert Pattinson, the star of Twilight.
And as for the film plot itself, well, you know, it's the usual type of thing. Mortal girl meets very good-looking vampire who hasn't aged since 1918. You know, I must be going to the wrong types of bars.
But even if I did want a date with the film's main man, I would have to join a long queue. His performance as Edward Cullen, the vegetarian vampire, has already turned him into an international heartthrob.
It's quite a small budget. I thought it's like, you know, medium-sized thing. It's just my first American job, so I'm like, yeah, okay, it's quite small. But it ends up being the biggest thing ever.
And the question that every man must be wondering, what is his secret?
I'd love to know what it is as well. I'd sell it.
He's my friend. It's so weird to think that everybody's like so obsessed with him.
The film's based on the best-selling book by Stephanie Meyer, who's been hailed as the next J.K. Rowling. So watch out, Harry Potter. There's a new boy in town, and he may just bite.
Finally, the start of Christmas got underway officially in America a few hours ago with the unveiling of the giant Christmas tree at the Rockefeller Center. Over 100,000 people attended this year's light ceremony. Before the switch was flipped, there was a star-studded night of performances, including songs from Beyonce and Hannah Montana's Miley Cyrus. 25 to 7, here's what's happening where you are this morning.
Thanks, Priya. Good morning. The top stories here in the northwest today. The predicted whiteout has turned into a washout across much of our region, but there was some snow in parts of Cheshire, Greater Manchester and East Lancashire. This was bake-up in the early hours of this morning. Some councils have closed schools as a precaution. Even though most major roads are clear, there are still a few problems. The Kirkstone Pass in Cumbria is closed, and there's snow on the M6 north of Kendal and on parts of the M65 in Lancashire, so take care there. And if it's snowed where you are, then we want your pictures or video. Send them by email to the usual address or by text starting with the word Granada to 63332. We'll have more on the weather in just a minute. Next, though, the High Court will today decide if Jack Straw has the power to release a jailed Liverpool football fan. 22-year-old Michael Shields is currently serving 10 years in prison for the attempted murder of a barman in Bulgaria 3 years ago. It's a crime he's always denied. Today's judicial review in London is Michael's last chance to be freed early.
The High Court ruling today is fundamental, is critical, because if the Bulgarians won't give Michael justice, and if they won't deal with a miscarriage of justice, then we will have to take it over and make sure that Michael does get justice.
On to sport now, and Manchester United are through to the last four of the Carling Cup. And in the Cup, Manchester City played out a goalless draw with Paris Saint-Germain. And Crewe are through to the third round of the FA Cup after beating Carlisle 2-0. They'll now face Millwall in the third round. Now, it looks like we've escaped the worst of the snow, but is there more on the way? Here's John with the latest.
GMTV weather is brought to you by Olbus Oil and Olbus for Children. The power to breathe, whatever the weather.
Good morning. Some Arctic-like conditions out there first thing for many this morning, especially in Pennine areas. Some significant snowfall pushed along by gusty southerly winds, making for some terrible conditions, some blizzard-like conditions. That'll soon push away though. Brighter weather moving in from the west, but it's still cold. Take care and stay warm.
Well, that's all the news for the Northwest so far this morning. I'm back with all the latest news, sport and weather. That's in half an hour. First, though, it's over to Penny and John on the GMTV sofa in London. Wrap up warm and I'll see you later.
OK, let's have a look at this morning's papers for you this morning. Daily Mail, mortgage safety net for middle classes. We're looking at this in some detail on the show as well, looking at that package to help try and fight off the numbers of people who are having their homes repossessed. Sarah Brown in a very chic beret. There you go. The Sun, this is this ongoing sort of disappointing Lapland in Dorset, where parents turned up and got very cross when it wasn't what it was promised to be. Now they've interviewed the Else, who are saying that they were sort of victims of everyone's disgruntlement, poor things.
I think interrogate an elf.
Yes, and it's a funny old morning, isn't it? OK, Daily Express, safe as houses, they say, thanks to their campaign, we're all in a better position as regards our houses. Very sad story, hopefully a hopeful story as well. In the Daily Mirror, of course, this is Hope on the right, those conjoined twins who sadly lost her life in the operation, which now means that Faith may, hopefully, 50-50 survive.
Most of the rest concentrate on the economy. Daily Telegraph, mortgage help for the middle classes. We've told you all about that in the news and in previous items. Emergency rescue for mortgage defaulters is a headline in the Times. They make the point that even Sir Alex has been caught up in the economic problems of the country. He invested in a £3 billion fund, which has gone into administration. The good news for Alex is, of course, Pension 153 last night. Front page of The Guardian, Brown acts to stop wave of repossession again. On the Financial Times, markets brace for big interest rate cuts, maybe down to 2% when they meet later today. And on the front page of The Independent, the only one with a different story, saying that the personal information about lots and lots of people in the country is to be handed over, controversially, obviously, to civil servants. And there's Mrs. Brown again in that rather groovy beret.
Exactly. Well, as the economic crisis continues to wreak havoc with all of our lives, it seems, one group appear to be being hit particularly badly. New research suggests that more than 2/3 of carers are struggling to pay their energy bills. More than half are in debt or cutting back on food simply to make ends meet. Well, statistics released today by Carers UK highlight just how tough life is for many carers. Nick Dixon went to meet one.
It's tiring, it's just exhausting all the time. Because most people I know, they've got a partner. I don't have a partner.
It's been 11 years since Sue Morris had a proper break from her life as a full-time carer. Her son Darryl has Down syndrome and needs constant attention. It's stressful work made even more difficult by her low income and rising bills.
My actual fuel bills are like £300–400 a time. It's outrageous. They want £20 a week for gas and electricity each, you know, and I just sort of think, when the next bill comes in, I've now got to go to the DSS to ask for a loan.
Sue's debts are up to £15,000 and she has little hope of paying them off.
If you think about it, then you get really, really depressed. You really do, and I can see why people are just at the end of their tether with it all, because you just don't know where to turn.
Well, with us now is the Chief Executive of Carers UK, Imelda Redmond. It's so awful, isn't it, that people who are already giving so much and really living a very lean life in many ways anyway, are having to fight this particular drama and this particular difficulty, you know, cutting back that much.
Well, the real problem for carers is many of them, like Sue, are on really low levels of benefits. Carers allowance is only £50, 55 pence a week. So, and it gets topped up with a bit of money, but people are living really, you know, close to the poverty line already. Then most of their expenses are on things like food and fuel, and many people feel they absolutely have to have a car because it's the only way they can deal with hospital appointments and all the you know, all the complications of their lives. And so while costs of food and petrol and fuel have gone up, they're hit harder because they also have less of an opportunity to go out and get, you know, do an extra few hours work or get another part-time job. Those options are simply not there.
Are simply not there in any way. And we have to remember, of course, in a way, the carers save the government and therefore all of us as taxpayers an enormous amount of money by doing the work that otherwise medical and health professionals would do.
Well, we've calculated that saving is actually £87 billion every year.
Good grief.
And there are more carers in the UK than the whole of the health service put together and all of social services staff put together. So most of the care of our ill, disabled people happens within families by carers.
Is there help out there? Is there sort of resource that they're not actually tapping into at the moment?
There is. I wouldn't like people to think there's nothing there out there for them. There is. And it's really important that people claim what they're entitled to. We've estimated that over £700 million of carers' benefits are going unclaimed. So it's really worth getting in touch with. Carers UK has a helpline, in touch with our helpline, our website, but also there are a whole range of local carers organisations in your community, so it's worth going and talking to those and seeing if you can, if you're entitled to any money, but also something that you could ask for. You ask for an assessment, and so social services might come in and give you some help, maybe a break. I think Sue was saying she hasn't had enough breaks. Well, there are some of those out there, so it's really worth finding out what you're entitled to.
Yes, spend a little bit of time, if you can, just making sure you get what you're owed.
Yes.
Imelda Redmond, very good to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks.
OK, the time... Oh, you can find out more information and advice
yes,
on that issue about carers on our website. You know, it is gm.tv. Time now is 6:44. You're watching the news hour. These are headlines you're waking up to this morning. Parts of the country are waking up to heavy snow and sub-zero temperatures, which are making travel conditions hazardous. Dozens of schools have been closed, particularly in the northwest of England.
The Bank of England is expected to cut interest rates to their lowest level for more than half a century, but it won't be passed on to many homeowners.
And new figures have revealed a big increase in the numbers of teenagers falling pregnant at Christmas. It's thought peer pressure and alcohol are factors. Well, as you saw there, widespread snow is causing disruption on many roads around the north of Britain this morning. Many schools have been closed in Scotland and northern England. Rachel Harrison is in Bradford for us this morning, where, as you can see, the snow is falling and appears to be sticking as well, Rachel.
Yes, absolutely, John. There's a bit of a winter wonderland here this morning. Started snowing from around 3 o'clock. It's only just started to settle here in Bradford, but we are in a bit of a dip. It's much worse on higher ground. Now, this is clearly the situation here, but you've been sending in some of your pictures this morning. Now, the worst affected areas are Wales, the northwest, Midlands, and of course in Scotland. And the news is that it's going to be snowing really for the next 4.5 hours. We're expecting up to 15 centimetres in some areas, and as you can imagine, it's going to cause all sorts of problems, partly because of the timing. Obviously, many of us have to get to work this morning, but there are also problems for schools. We've had bad weather over the last few days, and Rochdale authorities actually said that 90 schools are advised to be closed in their area. That's in Hayward, Middleton and in Rochdale. There are 14 school closures in Lancashire, 2 in Manchester and 4 in Cumbria, and we're expecting closures to continue throughout the morning as people begin to wake up to this bad snowy weather. Now, if you're not sure of the status of your school, the best thing to do
do is to check your local authority's website or the school website, and they should be able to give you all the information. But as I said, this is going to come in the rush hour periods. The roads behind me, as you can see, are very snowy this morning. They haven't really been gritted here. Most of the main motorways, though, are kind of free running, but there are problems. So if you're trying to get to work this morning, take your time, because you may get delayed.
OK, Rachel, thanks very much, Dee. We'll pick up on that. Now, let's talk to Mark Powell from the Highways Agency, who joins us on the line now. Mark, certainly in the centre of Bradford there, traffic was moving. We've seen parts of the M1 where the traffic is still moving. Where are the big problems?
Well, I'm at the National Traffic Control Centre in Birmingham, and I'm looking at screens now, seeing the M62, where snow is falling, but traffic's flowing quite freely. But the A66 is fully closed from the M6 in Cumbria right across to the A1 in Northumbria. So the A66 avoid at all costs because that is closed. Other Transpennine routes, though, are open and traffic is flowing, although snow is still falling.
Right, then that stretch of the A66, you say A66, or it was A66, I think, right across the country. How big a stretch of road is that?
It covers from the west to the eastern side of England, so it's quite a major road. Thankfully, there's no traffic trapped on it, so there's no one in difficulty. But obviously, people need to take alternative routes, and we have signed them on the A1 so people know where they're going.
OK, and the forecast is for the snow to continue. So what are you saying to motorists right now?
Well, we're advising people to make sure they're prepared for severe weather, make sure they've got warm clothing and perhaps a warm drink. Plan their journeys before they set out by checking our website at www.highways.gov.uk or tuning into traffic radio if they've got DAB radios. Remember to drive appropriately for the conditions. It takes much longer to stop when it's snowy and icy, so give more room to slow down and stop. And if you're passing gritters and snowplows, give them room to do what they've got to do.
Yes, so take care. Well, so just looking at pictures there from Derbyshire, from Greater Manchester, which have been just been sent into our studio here in London. It does look as though it's becoming tricky, to put it mildly. Thanks very much indeed for your contribution, Mark, and keep us in touch throughout the morning. Want to know what it's like in your area today? Send your pictures and your video from your mobile on 67890. Messages cost 50p plus your standard network charge. Terms and conditions can be found at www.gm.tv/terms, and suitable pictures or videos may also appear on our website.
Now, coming up after 7 this morning, he's a new kid on the Hollywood block, and he's British. He's a star, Robert Pattinson. He's in the new vampire film Twilight, John. I think he's gorgeous. John said he needs a comb. I think that's a female-male divide there, isn't it?
I was being just a tad catty. I'm sure he's a very nice person. Look forward to meeting him immensely. Thanks very much indeed for helping my introduction to that young man. Still to come on the news are the Christmas lights gone in New York. A big deal. Such a big deal, in fact, that Beyonce and who else? Miley Cyrus turned up for it. It's a great day. It's a great occasion out there. Lovely sights if you're over in that part of the world.
Hi there. So, Britney Spears, Beyonce, Miley Cyrus, just some of the celebrities who helped New York celebrate the lighting of the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree last night. A big deal in New York when those lights go on. Sue Jameson was also there. How did it all go, Sue?
Well, there are about 100,000 people in the crowd watching the concert and the lighting of the tree, and millions more on television watching, and probably all thinking much the same as I was, that size really does matter when it comes to Christmas trees, because I've just put one in my apartment and it looks like a pinprick on an elephant when you consider this one, which is 7 stories high. Now, it had been in the ground for 74 years in New Jersey, and it was tended for by a family there with a mother who sadly passed away. Now, had always said to her children, I hope one day that our little Christmas tree planted out there in the backyard will be at the Rockefeller Center. And then a few months ago, there was a helicopter scout patrol, and yes, really, they have helicopter scout patrols to try and find the Christmas tree that is going to be this major, iconic one at the Rockefeller Plaza. It landed and said, can we have your tree, please? And the family living there said, oh, well, why not? And so just a few hours ago, really, it got its moment of fame.
3, 2, 1.
There around 30,000 100,000 LED energy-efficient lights. America's becoming much more energy-efficient these days, and that's on 5 miles of wire. Now, in fact, these trees are usually recycled afterwards, and this one's interesting because last year it made a living room for a family who had been left homeless by Hurricane Katrina, and they were there in the audience today. Other trees have been used to make wooden animals for toys in the Bronx Zoo. Now, you mentioned some of the celebrities. Well, Britney Spears wasn't actually there, but she had done a pre-recorded message wearing rather more clothes than we've seen of late, and this is what she had to say.
Welcome to New York. Christmas is one of my favorite times of the year, and the great tradition of the lighting of the tree in Rockefeller Center means so much to me. I first appeared on this show at the beginning of my career back in 1999, and tonight I'm so excited to be here once again. I want to wish all of you and our troops happy holidays and a happy new year. The stage is set, we're ready to go, so let's get started. For the 76th time, it's Christmas in Rockefeller Center.
One of the famous, so she was just one of the famous faces there. Others, well, there was a lovely song, I suppose the nicest one perhaps of the evening, at least to my ears, was Beyoncé, and this is what it sounded like.
I always hear these words inside. Ave Maria.
So that was one of the softer, gentler songs. Obviously, many of them were the traditional Christmas ones. And Miley Cyrus, who is the star of Hannah Montana, which, of course, is the Obama girls' favourite TV programme, and they often watch that with their mum. She was there, and a little bit more rock and roll for this song.
Rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party. Mistletoe hung where you can see every couple tries to stop. Rocking around the Christmas tree.
So we now can say that Christmas has officially begun, and all I know is I'm going out tomorrow to buy some more lights for my very small Christmas tree.
Are you enjoying over there, Sue? Because this is your first Christmas, isn't it, out there?
It is, yes, and I haven't quite got my ice skates on to go and skate, because that's obviously another traditional thing that people do, but I am going to go and see the Rockettes tomorrow. Now, you did see a little bit of them in one of those clips, and I have to say, my first thought was they must be so cold, because it is freezing here now. And the other thing that I'm extremely pleased about, Kate, though, is that not only is the Christmas tree turned on now, but after 2 days of not working, my heating has also been turned on, and so I'm beginning actually to feel, you know, warm and toasty, and like I might throw a few chestnuts on the open fire.
Well, that's the important thing. Thank goodness for that. All right, Sue, good to speak to you this morning.
That's you enjoy it, Sue. That's it from the News Hour. Thanks very much for all the snow pictures you've been sending in this morning. Here are a few more of your shots from various parts of the country. Andrew, wearing a very dodgy tie, and Kate will be on the sofa in just a minute.
It's a little rude.
Up to date with all the weather
morning?
developments this morning. Well, colourful, to put it mildly. Colourful.
Grief. I don't know.
You'll
What
see it in a
happened
tick.
to the
I've seen it.
gentle lord of broadcast that was John Stapleton? The teenage heartthrob Robert Pattinson is here live to chat about his starring role in the new film Twilight. He's brilliant.
Yeah, but first, let's get that all-important weather from Claire, who's in the city of Bradford.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestle Shredded Wheat. Shredded wheat and hot milk. They're a perfect winter warm-up.
Hello, good morning. I'm in Centenary Square in Bradford this morning. It's feeling really wintry, quite Christmassy to be honest, but I am on terra firma and I don't have to travel through the next few hours. And those of you who do, it's very nasty outside. The City Council are trying to grip, but the snow is quite heavy now and it's falling and settling, not only on the lower ground, but actually it's much worse on the higher ground, anywhere from the North Midlands northwards, up across northern counties of England, the next hour or so across northern parts of Wales, as well as central and eastern areas of Scotland. And that's where the warnings are this morning, not only for heavy snow, but also blizzard conditions, particularly over the higher ground where the winds are strong, the south to southeasterly winds, and there could be problems with drifting as we head through the morning as well. So that's the warnings. You can see where the snow is. Weather-wise this morning, well, we're seeing a clearance coming in across Northern Ireland. So you saw the rain and snow overnight, but you'll like to see some showers this morning. And some brighter skies now slowly emerging across the western side of Scotland, in fact western parts of Wales, are seeing some drier weather as we head through the next hour or so. Elsewhere, it really is a case of the snow continuing for at least the next 4 or 5 hours across northern counties of England and longer across eastern areas of Scotland. Further south, well, to the north of the Midlands, expect some snow over the next few hours. To the south, it's rain, and the rain will only slowly clear from the southwest as we head through the lunchtime period. So let's have a look and see what's happening this lunchtime. I think for much of England and Wales, it's going to become drier. I say dry, there could be 1 or 2 showers around. And then I'd say for Scotland, it's really central and eastern areas that continue to see that wintry weather. In fact, for the northeast of Scotland, you could actually see snow coming and going right the way through the next day and a half. For Northern Ireland, some blustery showers as well as for western Scotland. Windy wherever you are, and top temperatures 3 to 5 degrees Celsius milder in the southwest. Tonight those showers continue in the west, a frost in the east where we're seeing clear skies, and tomorrow it's a case of some sunshine and also some blustery showers. Saturday's not looking too bad at all, more rain coming in for Scotland on Sunday. Here's your summary.
Get the weekend outlook for your postcode on our website, gm.tv.
Good morning. Whiteout blizzard conditions spread across the north of Britain.
Travel chaos. The Highways Agency warns of drifting snow, bringing hazards to motorists.
And the result of this, stay at home. The snow forces widespread school closures.